Hey VC, it's Joel coming at you from Planet 13, and this is my Record Store Day Drop number 2 video and my September pickups. I'd also want to mention that my deodorant that I picked up recently smells like cat pee. I haven't been wearing deodorant for quite some time, so maybe I'm just not used to the smell. I'm getting back used to it. During COVID, I didn't wear it because I live alone. I wasn't going out. I guess COVID's still happening, but restrictions have been opened up, and I'm back at work now in the office, so I've been throwing on the deodorant. I don't think I necessarily stink to begin with, but if I did, probably no one would ever tell me, right? So yeah, I wear deodorant just for the same reason I wear a mask. I'm protecting others from something I might have, whether that be COVID germs or stinky armpits. And I have been going out recently to record stores. I've had generally a good experience. For one of the record store day drop stores that I went to, people were not respecting the physical distancing. The store opened, I was in line, and people just rushed in, and there was no control by the staff, which I can understand. It was kids kind of running the control, and kids probably are a little intimidated by men who are middle-aged and a little bit older rushing in and whatever. So I just kind of stayed back, lost my place in line. I was second, and people behind me just kind of rushed, and everyone was shoulder to shoulder and just grabbing everything. And I just didn't want to risk. I have a weak immune system, so I just didn't want to risk my health for an album that's probably overpriced, and probably, if I'm being honest, I'll maybe play once or twice and file away and forget about for a few more years. I just didn't think it was worth it. In the end, I did get the albums that I wanted. I could see what everyone was after, and no one grabbed the albums that they had available. There wasn't much available stock there to begin with, so I got exactly what I wanted, and I'll show that a little later on. I went to another record store too and didn't buy anything. They didn't have any record store day drops, and I just went to see what I could grab in September, and I was kind of offended by the pricing. I know you're supposed to support your local record store, and the prices here were obscenely high. Just for a comparison, 2 years ago I bought Metallica's Ride the Lightning there, brand new, the reissue, $22. There they had it this time listed for $44. Same album, it's still in print, it's not rare, just obscenely priced in my eyes. I know the Canadian dollar has gone down and they have to justify that, and I know they're struggling to stay in business, but also we have our Canadian government, it's supplementing their income with employee income. I think they pay up to 75%. I don't know, I forget the exact figures they're getting, but I just thought that was obscene and insulting. Abbey Road, it was $52 there. I'm not going to name the store, but Pet Sounds, again, the reissue was $48. Dark Side of the Moon was $48. It just insane pricing. Maybe I'm being controversial and saying, I'm not going to support them. If I'm being like bullheaded, slam me in the comments below, but I don't think I am. Also, I went to the mall and the same visit, and malls generally, they charge a little more for their albums because they got to pay additional fees. It's a little more expensive to have a store in the mall because you got to pay for air conditioning and security and the cleaning of the mall. Everyone chips in. All those albums were going for about $26. So yeah, I just was a little upset with this record store. Just charging obscene pricing, and it was busy in there. People were buying stuff, and I just thought they were nuts because who's got that kind of money to throw it on albums? I don't know. I know everyone's kind of complaining about record prices lately, but I just thought this was, well, just ridiculous. Anyway, here is what I picked up for Record Store Day and in September. The first record store day drop number 2 that I picked up was the soundtrack to Hackers. This was a late 90s movie that featured a young Angelina Jolie in one of her first roles. You also have Matthew Lillard, who's one of my favorite actors. I really dug him in Scream and as Shaggy in Scooby-Doo. And you have Johnny Lee Miller, who went on to do Trainspotting around this time. And I believe he married Angelina Jolie around this, and they were married before she went on to marry marry Billy Bob Thornton and then Brad Pitt. Here's the gatefold, and I just love the creepy look Matthew Lillard is giving in the background. Just cracks me up. Here's the back of the album and one of the inner sleeves. And then here we have two of the inner sleeves. Again, here's Matthew Lillard looking all kind of creepy, crazy like. You get an appalling display of post-grunge fashion here from the 90s. I read a quote by John Waters recently. I don't know if he actually said it because I just saw it as a meme on Instagram. But his quote was that modern era pirates and hackers and such, they don't have a fashion style. They're basically wearing track pants in a basement somewhere. And what I appreciate about the movie's Hackers is they definitely had a style. Whether it was good or bad is up for debate. But I just found that quote funny. And then here's the other inner sleeve with some text and some of the labeling. I have yet to clean these records. These are the records just coming right out of the sleeves, which just shows you how awful these inner sleeves can be. I also adore the hype sticker for this album. It's rather cool, showing a floppy disk, which is definitely some technology that is from a bygone era. The next Record Store Day album I picked up is the X-Files soundtrack. This isn't the music inspired by the X-Files. This is the theme music, so of course you get the infamous X-Files theme. And then here's the back cover and the insert. More of the inserts, and you get another insert with other album soundtracks from the same company. And here is the glow in the dark vinyl. I have to say this does have a lot of surface noise, particularly in between songs, kind of like a picture disc would have. There is kind of a hiss. It's not too troublesome for me, but I don't have like the most sensitive ears either. In my opinion, it sounds good enough, but I would probably, if I could do it all over again, I'd probably prefer this on black vinyl. And all the inserts and the cover art is exactly duplicated from the original CD pressing of this album. Some people were complaining how the album cover looked kind of blown up and pixely. I looked at the original CD cover. It pretty much looks the same to me. It's kind of pixelated in it of itself. The third Record Store Day drop number 2 pickup I got was Def Leppard's Greatest Hits Volume 2. And this came out actually 2 years ago on Record Store Day, I think a Black Friday of 2018. This was 30% off. I'd always been meaning to pick it up. It was always a little pricey, and they had a 30% off deal on it, so I snatched it. Here's the gatefold, and I think this is a pretty interesting shot of the band selling at a stadium. Now, while they do sell at stadiums, they always usually perform with a similar group, such as Kiss or Journey. Last time I saw them, they were with Tesla, and before that, I saw them with Poison. Great band to see live, very phenomenal. I know they get a lot of criticism among some people for having a very manufactured sound on some of their albums, but when you see them live, they are singing. They even come out and prove it. They do an acoustic set, which they couldn't possibly fake. They come out on a little stage on the in the middle of the audience, and it sounds fantastic. So you get 2 discs with this. Some of these are cover songs like Rock On by David Essex and No Matter What by Badfinger. There might be another couple cover songs on here. There's one song on here that I absolutely hate. It's probably my most hated song in the world. It's Slang. I just despise that one song. I don't know what it is about it. I just cannot stand it. It just makes me feel, it just sounds gross to me. I don't know why. But I enjoy the other songs on here, particularly Promises, Let's Go, Bringing on the Heartbreak, Stand Up, Now. Now is one I like quite a bit. And Come On, Come On. And here are some of the inner sleeves. You get some nice photographs here. And here's another inner sleeve and the label on the album itself. All the labels are similar. Only the song listings change. I don't want to lose my stature in the Canadian vinyl community, so here is a Canadian album I picked up. It is Glass Tiger. This was reissued with orange and black splatter recently, and since I didn't have any Glass Tiger in my collection, I said, why not? So Glass Tiger was a Canadian band out of Ontario. I forget exactly where, somewhere in the Peel region of Ontario, I believe. And the singer was a Scottish-Canadian singer, so he had a really unique voice. This album is also notable for Bryan Adams, who is also Canadian, or was at the time. I think he is now a citizen of the States. Anyway, he guest stars on a couple of the songs, and there are some big hits on this album. And again, this album is probably one of my better looking albums in my collection. as far as a colored variant goes. I just like the tiger splatter look of this album. Here we have PJ Harvey's Rid of Me, which is produced by Steve Albini, who later saw a lot of fame in the 90s, particularly with In Utero by Nirvana. This is a very raw album. There's a quote by Elvis Costello, and he just sums it up perfectly. He says this song is about blood and the verb form of the F word. And I would sum that up as well too. PJ Harvey, she has a really wailing, howling, kind of painful, not in an unpleasant way, but painful voice that just really shows a lot of raw emotion. Fantastic album. Probably my second favorite by her, but that's still up for debate for me. Haven't made up my mind yet. Here's the back cover and the inner sleeve, and then you get the Island label on this album. Here's PJ Harvey's third album, which got delivered to me in September. This is a little more commercial than the previous two PJ Harvey albums. She went from being in a band before, it was kind of like PJ Harvey, and she had her regular guitarist and drummer and such. And then she went with different musicians with this album. This album kind of brought her commercial success with the song Down by the Water. And here you get the back cover and the inner sleeve and my dusty vinyl showing off the custom label. I picked up Ace Frehley's latest album, which is Origins Volume 2. This comes on like a weird blue-white vinyl. Very cool. It's all covers. The purpose of this album is just for Ace to play tribute to the songs that inspired him. For Jumpin' Jack Flash, he is not singing, even though he kind of identifies with, he says he has a very Mick Jagger kind of voice range. So you'd think he'd sing Jumpin' Jack Flash, but he has Lita Ford singing on that song. And he has Robin Zander singing on 30 Days in the Hole. A lot of good songs on here. My favorite, people are kind of slamming it, but I like Space Truckin' by Deep Purple on here. People are slamming it because he says Space Ace Truckin' in one of the lyrics, and people thought that was a little too self-serving, but I thought it's kind of cool. I enjoyed it. She is a bonus track here, which is recently redone. He, I guess he was playing it live when bands were allowed to tour, and it was a big hit amongst the crowd, so he threw it on here. This is at 45 RPM, so the sound quality is very, very good on this. The only problem is you only get 3 songs. I'd like to say I'm lazy and I don't want to flip the album, but I find, by the 3rd song, I'm just kind of getting into the album. I think there's a reason why albums tend to have 4 to 5 songs, because you're just kind of getting into it, and then it just ends and you got to flip it and you just kind of get out of the experience. So that's my only kind of complaint about this album, which is not really a major complaint. Maybe my favorite cover on here besides Space Truckin' is Lola. I like what he did with this song. I just like the song in general. John Five and Bruce Kulick also guest star on a few of these songs. Here we have Marilyn Manson's latest album, We Are Chaos. I haven't really seen anyone in the vinyl community talk about this. Maybe I've just missed it. This is an album he did with Shooter Jennings. It came out in mid-September. So Shooter Jennings is Waylon Jennings' son, and they both produced this album, and it sounds really cool. I like the sound of this album. Manson was kind of hinting this would be kind of a country goth album, but I wouldn't say there's much country flavor to it. If there is, it might be kind of like an outlaw kind of rebel feel to it that Shooter probably brings to the table. A lot of people are saying this is Marilyn's kind of comeback album. I wouldn't go that far, but I'd say this is a strong album. I like his first 4 albums, starting with Portrait. That's probably my favorite. And then I like Mechanical Animals, which is his 3rd. Antichrist, I like quite a bit. And Hollywood, I enjoyed. Everything after has been good, but hasn't been as good as those albums. I know Manson's kind of like a polarizing figure. He came out of the gate kind of maybe a little too strong and turned off a lot of people. And then Columbine happened, and that kind of flatlined his career. What I have to say about this album is the songs are pretty diverse. There's no common thread. They all kind of sound like they could be off of other albums, but they all kind of flow well in their own way. I don't know if I have a favorite right now. Probably Paint You With My Love is my favorite. It's got a very 70s kind of vibe to it that I enjoy, very kind of glammy, but I like every song off of here. Broken Needle is kind of a cool experience on vinyl because this is probably a spoiler if you care, but not really. There is a lock groove at the end of the song, which kind of ties into the broken needle aspect of that, and I appreciate that attention to detail. Broken needle is also an analogy, at least lyrically wise, between vinyl, playing like an album, and a relationship. But a lot of great songs on here. I've been watching a lot of YouTube reviews from a mixed variety of people, and it's interesting because everyone's favorite song is different. Some people's favorites are other people's least favorite songs, and I think that's a sign of a good album that will have some longevity to it. And you get this nice little fold out. And on the flip side, you get a creepy painting done by Marilyn Manson in watercolor. So if you have kids, I hope they aren't putting that up on the wall, even though I do like it. And finally, my last pick for September is Star Wars Shadow of the Empire. This is the soundtrack to the classic N64 video game, not done by John Williams, but done by Joel McNeely. You get some nice liner notes in here, some artwork of Princess Leia and Boba Fett, and you get some nice custom labeling on the album itself. I think this is the first time it was pressed on vinyl, previously appearing on CD. That wraps up another vinyl haul. Until next time, cheers.